Hey everybody, how you doing? It's your friend, it's your brother, it's me, it's Elder Follins. Welcome to another edition of Biblical Biography, where we give you an interesting Bible story in a short amount of time. Today's biblical biography comes from 1 Samuel chapter 14, and this chapter is very interesting because we talk about a person that's least talked about in the Bible. He's mentioned, but not too much focus is on him. This person happens to be Jonathan, the best friend of David. We know about David. We know about his great defeats. We know about his flaws, and we even know about his kingship. But this now is focusing on somebody that was very dear to him. We know that Jonathan happened to be the son of King Saul. Saul was the people's choice, but David was God's choice. David had a dear friend in the son of King Saul by the name of Jonathan. What brings us to light in this particular story is, if you read the beginning of this chapter, you will find out, or if you go a chapter up, chapter 13, you'll find out that Saul had did something that really displeased God, and that was the last straw. That's when God said, enough is enough. Saul had acted on impulse. Impulse will mess you up. You don't never need to go behind God, and you surely don't want to go ahead of God. Saul could not wait on Samuel to come to offer up the sacrifice, to offer up the offering, to give details as to how to fight the Philistines at this time. Because he could not wait and his soldiers were losing heart, he himself in chapter 13 took it upon himself to do something foolish. And he did something he wasn't qualified to do, which caused God to say, I can no longer trust you. He begins to take the sacrifice, and as he do the sacrifice, and he do it on his own without purification, without doing it the way it's supposed to be, now here comes the prophet Samuel, and he tells him, what have you done? You have acted foolish. Samuel became very angry with Saul. You hear me? Saul making his excuses, and Samuel was like, I can't even help you now. This is beyond me. So now Saul is stuck, getting ready to face an enemy where he don't know whether he's going to be defeated or whether God's going to give him victory. The Philistines were coming in on them like crazy. The Philistines were very wise in their strategic army battle strategy to go against Israel, because they had gotten rid of all of the blacksmiths. When the blacksmiths are gone, there's nobody to forge swords, spears, or any other weapons that are used for battle. So all Israel had now was their farm tools, such as shovels, rakes, hoes, and spikes, and things of that nature. They sharpened them to prepare them for battle. And you know, you can't really go to war with those. Those are designed for gardening, not for warfare. But that's all Israel. It says in this chapter 13 that there were only two swords in Israel at this time, one by the hand of Saul and the other by Jonathan. But as Saul began to wait in the holes and in the rocks to try to figure out what he's going to do, you should no longer have to wait for an enemy. An enemy is not going to wait for you. After a while, they're going to come for you. But Jonathan, knowing that he was a mighty man of valor, knowing that war was in him, and knowing that God's presence was so needed in order to gain victory, and realizing that I can't do anything without God, he did not want to make the mistake of his father. Jonathan, with his trusted armor bearer, says, let's just go up on the skirts of the enemy's camp and see if the Lord will give us victory. I love it because Jonathan's armor bearer was true to him. You do know the wrong armor bearer or the wrong assistant or even the wrong friend can cause you an utter fatal disaster in your life. You got to be careful who you are connected with. But I love Jonathan's faith. Jonathan said this in verse 6 in chapter 14. Jonathan said to the young armor bearer, come and let us go over to the outpost of these uncircumcised men. Perhaps the Lord will act on our behalf. Here's the part that we got to catch, y'all. Nothing can hinder the Lord from saving, whether by many or by few. That's the whole essence of this short biblical biography. You got to understand that God will get the victory with a little or a lot. We can do a lot with a little, y'all. And the armor bearer's reply, bless my heart, the armor bearer reply, he says, do all that you have in mind. His armor bearer said, go ahead. I am with you, heart and soul. I'm so grateful that I've lived such a life to where I can say I've had at least one good friend. And a good, true friend will tell you, I'm with you, heart and soul. Now listen, I like this. This is where the story gets good and we're bringing it to an end. Jonathan now, he goes up to the outskirts of the Philistines' camp. You got to remember, Israel had been hiding in little holes, caves, and crevices. The Philistines did not see a soldier because they were hiding, wasn't sure about the victory, wasn't sure about the battle. And Jonathan, I love it because he consults God and he says, God, you got to give me some confirmation. This will be our confirmation. If we go and make ourselves visible, and the reply of the Philistines says, stay right there, we're going to come to y'all and we're going to destroy you, then we know that we need to get out of here. But if the Philistines say to us, come on up here, come to us, then we'll know that that's God's sign to us that he is with us and that we will have the victory. Now, I love it. Jonathan and his armor bearer, they get to the spot and they begin to get visible. And the Philistines talk trash. They said, there go the Hebrews coming out of their holes in their caves. And they say the magic word. They said, come on up to us and we're going to teach you a lesson. Jonathan looks at his armor bearer. He says, let's go for it. And the Bible says that they climbed up and they got to where the Philistines were, Jonathan in the front and the armor bearer behind, and they whooped this squad of soldiers with just the two of them, Jonathan fighting in front and the armor bearer from behind. God gave them utter victory. The Bible says in verse 13, Jonathan climbed up using his hands and feet and his armor bearer right behind him. The Philistines fell before Jonathan and his armor bearer followed and killed from behind. God knows how to give us victory in the front and victory from behind. It says, and they killed as many as they could in this acre of land, in this plot of field. And we stand today on this biblical biography to learn this lesson that's found in verse 6. Perhaps the Lord will act on our behalf. Nothing can hinder the Lord from saving, whether by many or by few. Please note this. This story teaches us we can do a lot with a little. God knows how to give us victory only with a little bit of help, but a whole lot of power. I love you. I hope you were blessed. Join me for another biblical biography. Be blessed, be well, be encouraged.